Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from SufferingWell, and I'm actually doing well today. I mean, this isn't just masking. I'm actually feeling really good. So I wanted to, I mean, that's like kind of unusual these days. So I wanted to share with you another thing about autism. And that's that for some of us, multitasking is not just an ability, it's a necessity. Here's what I mean. I really can't just focus on one thing at a time. Every once in a while, there is something that I can focus on just by itself, but usually I need to be doing something with my hands while I'm listening to something. Or if I'm talking to somebody, I will be typing and looking things up at the same time. It's the way I used to explain it before I knew that I had autism, and I still think that this is a good explanation, is that the thing that I'm trying to focus on doesn't take up my entire brain. And so I have to occupy the rest of my brain with something else, or else I just end up going all over the place. So, for example, and this can be kind of a problem sometimes because people feel like you're not paying attention when you're doing other things, especially because I might not be looking them in the eye. I don't generally look people in the eye. I look right here on their face. So it looks like I'm looking them in the eye. I've kind of learned to do that so that people don't get mad at me. But yeah, so it's like I have to be doing something else. So like what would be ideal for me while I'm in church is if I could embroider or crochet or something, but that would be really distracting to other people in two ways. One, I'm doing something else, so that would just bother them. And also because they might be distracted by thinking, what the heck is she doing? You know, we're in church. She should just be paying attention. Well, that is how I pay attention. But short of getting up and explaining that to everybody, it's kind of a problem. And I really don't want to distract people around me or upset them. So in church, okay, so like if I'm at a church, like if I was when I was at a Protestant church and the sermon is kind of the main thing there, and it's a long sermon and it's appropriate to take notes, I would take notes. And the homily in a Catholic mass is not the main thing. The main thing is the communion. So the homily is it's just a teaching opportunity that goes along with the scriptures that have been read, and it's really short. So, since I can't really do anything with my hands, I have to occupy another part of my mind, but I want to occupy it in a way that doesn't take a lot of concentration because I really want to pay attention to the homily. Um, and so sometimes what I'll do is, and this is going to sound funny to those of you who aren't autistic, those of you who are autistic, you'll probably understand. And if you have an autistic child, this is something that might help them. So one thing that I do is I listen for an interesting word that is in the Bible reading. And I will count, I will pay attention and watch for each time that the priest says that word so that I can count it. And I'll kind of count it on my fingers, like in my lap, so nobody can tell that I'm counting, but that's how I count it because I don't want to have to hold that number in my head because I need to pay attention to what he's saying, but I have to do something especially to occupy my hands. And it's not that I'm fidgety. It really is that I need to use that section of my brain. I'm not really sure if that makes sense or not. So I do that, and that usually helps enough to pay attention. I might also try describing something in my brain. Like maybe I'll try to picture what happened in the gospel, because usually the gospel has stories. And so I try to picture that. And then while I'm listening to the homily, I'm also describing that picture in my brain, or I'm describing to myself what the priest looks like or what the altar looks like. And because of that, too, it's like I have these pictures in my brain that are just really solidly there because I've spent time focusing on them and describing them. But I am also listening to the homily. I'm not ignoring the homily. I'm not, focused on this other thing so that I can't pay attention to the homily. What I'm doing helps me to pay attention to the homily. When I'm talking to somebody on the phone, I'll usually be typing on my computer. I'm not typing like, a story that I'm writing or something. If I'm writing a novel, that's actually something I can pretty much just focus on because there's so many things going on that I have to do with my brain that I'm able to just focus on that. But if I'm talking on the phone, I might be reorganizing a list on the computer, or I might be doing something where I have to just copy and paste, or working on some artwork on the computer. Doing art and talking, or doing art and listening to something is a really, that works really well for me. It's like, I think it's because it uses like the creative part of my mind and the logic, the logical part of my mind. Is that what you call it? The right and left sides of the brain. Um, and so that works really, really well for me. Drawing while I'm talking to somebody. I draw a lot. My drawings are not great. They're stick figures, but they're kind of, they're pretty, they're colorful and everything like that. I've actually sold some of them. So um, but I work on those a lot of times while I'm talking. Another thing that I'll do while I'm talking to somebody, especially on the phone, is I'll be looking things up online that they're talking about. It's like I was talking to a friend today, and he said every state in America has a city named Springfield because he had heard that. So I'm immediately up there, without thinking. I'm just up there checking, whoa, does this state have Springfield? Does this, and I found out, no, not every state has Springfield, but it was close to it. A lot of them do. So I check out, and he wasn't surprised. He knows that I do this all the time. And so, yeah, so it's like that's what I do, like when somebody's talking. Or like I crocheted an entire king size Afghan when my kids and I listened to the Bible on tape when they were small. And that really, really helps me. I can listen so much better if I'm doing something with my hands or I'm doing something creative. It really makes a huge difference. And I think I got more out of that time reading through the Bible than any other time that I've read through it. Another thing that a lot of autistic people do is, I'll try to put a picture up here because I don't have it with me. It's in my purse. We have these things that you can like, it's almost like bubble wrap, but it's silicone, and you push the little buttons through. And it's a kind of fidget toy. I also have, I don't have any in here right now. I usually do. Balls that have little balls inside of them. So it's really textured. So I can play with that, and that helps. Some people will put like a bracelet or a rubber band, especially a rubber band on their wrist, and they'll just sit there snapping it and stuff. That sometimes bothers other people though. Um, there's just a lot of things that you can do that will help to use that other part of your brain. For some autistics, now not for me, but for some autistics, it really is that they need to use up energy kind of. It's hard to say. It's hard to explain. It's not really energy. It's, how I've said that we have hyperconnective neurons. So we have so many connections in our brain, I think is how it is. I mean, this is like literally how it is. And it's called hyperconnectivity. And so it's like when you have something going on around you, then it's like it's firing off so many more neurons and making so many more connections than it is in normal people's brains, in people's brains who aren't autistic. Um, I'm stumbling all over my words. I'm sorry. Um, and so it's like, so there's all this stuff in there, and it just helps to get some of that out of you. I guess it's energy in a way, but it's not like energy like, oh, I can go run a mile or something like that. It's like it's excess stuff that's inside of us that we have to get out. And that I do have also. I think that's very, very common among autistics, is to have that kind of thing, that it's like, we have so much that we have to just like get it out. So that's why you have people that flap their hands, or I heard of a priest who's autistic who stands up and down on his toes while he preaches his homily or while he does the whole mass. And that's how he works that out. Um, you know, Different people have different ways of doing that. But if you have an autistic child and they seem to be really upset and they have a lot of pent up emotion and stuff, try giving them some of those things. Just look online for fidget toys. I get mine from Temu, from Amazon, from just a lot of different places. Sometimes at Walmart, or I can't remember. There was a store that used to have a bunch of bins out in the front, and they had a lot of stuff like that. So you can look for things like that, and it's really helpful. But don't be upset because your child is doing something with their hands while they're supposed to be listening to something. That actually helps them to listen if they're autistic. Um, so anyway, I hope that that's helpful in some ways. I hope that, the main reason I'm starting to feel like the main reason why I'm sharing about my autism is because it just helps other people who have autism to feel like they're not alone. That's what I'm seeing in the comments is I'm seeing people who just really relate in one way or another. And but I also really want to share this with those of you who are not autistic because I want you to understand what it's like for us. It's not all bad either. Like this whole thing of being able to do some things at once, sometimes it's good. I can get a lot done this way. And people are amazed at how much I get done, but that's why. It's because I have to. Um, so yeah, so if you just kind of try to adjust your brain and understand what it's like for somebody who's autistic, and if you see somebody in church and they're, drawing or writing or knitting or something, don't be quick to judge them. It might be because they're autistic and they need to do this. And I'll tell you, I was doing those things before I knew that I was autistic. So they may not even know that they're autistic, but they need to do that. All right, so I'm not encouraging people to be rude and knit in church if that's not what they need to do. I don't even think you should knit in church at all anyway, because it could be really distracting to people. But those of you who don't have autism, if you could try to be compassionate and non-judgmental towards those people who do, and those people who do have autism, I want to encourage you to find ways that don't bother other people if at all possible. Because I don't know, like I said, I don't expect other people to work their lives around me. I do have a couple of friends who really, really do try to help me, and that is so appreciated. It's so wonderful, but I don't expect it of the world at large. And like I said, I don't want to distract people in church and stuff. So, all right, I don't know how to end this video. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for praying. Thank you for encouraging. And to Miss Chris, thank you so much for praying your rosary for me. I really appreciate it. All right, I love you all. Bye-bye.